Alright guys, here we go. Becoming Muhammad Ali, round 5. Growing up, Cassius didn't understand why white people had it better than black people. It didn't make any sense to him. He knew they weren't any better than black folk, just different. But whenever he asked his mama about it, she'd get real quiet and tell him to be careful. She told us that there were things that you could say in that house that you couldn't say outside. And there are ways that we could act around other black folk that we couldn't act around white people. But even when we walked, even how we walked, how we talked, and who we looked at, it sounds crazy, but it was true. We had to be one way for ourselves and another way for the rest of the world. We wouldn't let white people see what we really thought or how much we really knew it. It was the only way to stay safe. Mrs. Clay told us other things, too. She told us that back in the days of slavery, plantation owners would kill the smartest slaves because they knew they were the most dangerous. I knew I was smart, but maybe deep inside, that's why I didn't want to show it. Maybe I didn't want to look dangerous. Cassius didn't buy any of it. He said he didn't care, that he was always going to be Cassius Clay no matter where he was or who he was with. When I got to 7th grade, my mama made me apply for a scholarship to the Catholic school across town. It was where all the smartest kids went. When I got the letter saying that I'd won the scholarship, I cried. Sad tears. Not happy. I told my mother I didn't want to go. I didn't want to be one of those kids. Too dangerous. But when Cassius heard about it, he wouldn't let me cry. He said, "Lucky, don't you ever be afraid of being smart. Don't be afraid of anything." And on the first day I came out of my house in my new Catholic school uniform, Cassius was right there on the sidewalk waiting. He walked me all the way to school to make sure nobody bothered me. Then he ran all the way back to his own school. He was probably late, but he didn't care. That's what friends do, he said. But Cassius was always a great friend. Looking back, I remember that everybody liked Cassius. Most teachers liked him because he was quiet and polite. Never gave me any trouble, said Mrs. Lauderdale, his English teacher. And outside of class, he was really funny, always cracking jokes and breaking us up. Cassius was like a magnet. You wanted to be around him. But I don't think anybody knew him the way that I did. Nobody else really knew what was behind that big smile and loud laugh. I saw the serious part of Cassius, the part of him that was determined to go places, be someone special, and make a mark in the world that would last forever. He was going to make the world notice him. Back then in the 1950s, boys didn't talk about loving their friends, especially guy friends, but Cassius did. One night when we were sitting on his front steps watching fireflies, Cassius told me he loved me because I understood him. Today he'd probably say, "Lucky, you really get me." And I did, and I was proud of it. I still am. The day I was born again. It was a Friday, hotter than noon on the 4th of July. That one fan we had was blowing on Mama, who was sitting in the living room reading the Bible, probably praying that Daddy would stop gallivanting like he did on most Friday nights till Saturday morning. Sitting on the porch, showing my latest card trick to Lucky and showing off my new white Chuck Taylors. The heat was punching me in the face and the sweat dripped like a waterfall. I couldn't take it no more, so we hopped on our bikes and Rudy got on my handlebars and we took off chasing the breeze and my destiny. We stopped in Aunt Coretta's bakery on Virginia Avenue, splitting a sweet pecan honey bun, rode by Piercy's barbershop, saw Cobb through the window in the chair, passed the downtown YMCA on 10th and Chestnut and heard the loud projector coming from the backyard, bulleted past 2 gangsters scraping one with a knife outside of Dreamland nightclub, rode by Louisville Gardens, home to the Cardinals basketball, cruised 4th Street hollering and laughing to the moon like we own the world, when the heavens opened up and reminded us that we didn't. The thunderstorm emptied so fast it was like somebody unzipped the sky onto us. Shelter. So the 3 of us dropped our bikes outside Columbia Auditorium, then dodged a million raindrops as we ran up its 14 stairs to escape the monsoon. The first 2 things we see inside are thousands of folks checking out the latest home and kitchen gadgets on display at the annual Louisville Defender Expo, and Chalky, a.k.a. Corky Butler. crazy eyes. Corky Butler didn't so much walk as he did lumber in our direction, clearing his path like a grizzly bear on his hairy toes. He was in a dingy, too-tight warm-up suit with tattered black Chuck Taylors covering his paws that he probably bullied some kid half his size for. When he got to us, he stepped on my sneaks and bumped Lucky with just enough force to make him lose his balance and knock Rudy backwards like a domino on an old couple checking out a Hoover vacuum cleaner. Then he stopped his dusty-looking face so close to me he could see the gum line of his gigantic gray tooth, could smell the stream of sweat crawling down his dull, bald head. Corky closed his mouth, curled up his crusty lip, lifted his chin like he was studying me, so I balled my fists into my pockets just in case. This was a test. "Nice sneakers," I said. Then, before walking out the front doors, he pointed his two stubby V-signed fingers at his eyes and mine. "I got my eyes on you, Cassius. Corky Butler's watching you." After he left, we roamed the expo, tasting samples and not talking about what happened, even though we were all thinking the same thing. I might have to fight him someday. Whenever I ran into Teeny Clark again while waiting for Rudy to come out of the bathroom. Before that, Rudy said that he had felt like throwing up, so he ran to the toilet. Before that, we ate too much Kentucky peanut brittle. Before that, we said hello to Ms. Alberta, who was teaching people how to vote on a cardboard voting machine that all the kids in our neighborhood helped her build last summer. Before that, I told Gorgeous George, "You may be gorgeous, but I'm pretty," which made him laugh, and then come at me with, "Kid, you might not be pretty, but I'm exquisitely resilient. An ivory knockout. I'm so beautiful, I should kiss myself." And then he closed his eyes and poked his lips out, which made everyone laugh. Before that, we waited in line for almost 30 minutes to get an autograph from a boxer and sometimes wrestler, Gorgeous George. And before that, Lucky pretended that he was blowing a saxophone while we listened to Billie Holiday sing Too Marvelous for Words. Before that, we marveled at the mahogany record player spinning Lady Sings the Blues at the RCA booth. And before that, me, Lucky, and Rudy shared 2 bags of toffee popcorn. And then before that, I saw Teeny eating popcorn and talking to Miss Alberta, and before that we stood drenched in front of the auditorium patting ourselves dry with paper towels, and right before that Corky had just stepped on my sneakers and walked out the front door when Teeny Clark passed by me with her parents and her little brother. Whew. Conversation with Teeny. "Hey, Gigi." "Hey, what you doing?" "Rudy ate too much brittle," I said, pointing toward the bathroom. "Oh. How's your jet plane back?" "Still good. I can't wait for school to be over. I'm going to camp. Gonna play tennis and swim and whatnot. What you doing this summer?" "Nothing. I don't know." "Cassius, you don't like me." "What you mean?" "What I mean is you never have words for me. Always yep and I don't know and See, I swear you can be so aloof." "I don't know what that means, Teeny, but it doesn't sound polite to me." "Cassius, everybody knows I like you." I like you? I mean, you're nice and all. Just nice?" "I don't know." "How about, agile, huh? As in quick, or agile?" "I don't know, Cassius. I'm the fastest runner at our school." "The fastest girl, maybe." "I could outrace you." "You're dreaming, Teeny Clark." "If I'm dreaming, then bet me." You don't want no parts of me, Teeny. I'll run circles around you. I'm so fast that last night I turned off the light switch in my bedroom and I got in bed before the room was dark." You may be funny, but won't be no laughing when I outrace you." "Name the date and the time and meet me on the line." "You may be fine, but I'm faster than an airline." "Well, how about now?" "It's raining now." "You scared you might melt?" "Nah." "Then get your buddies and meet me outside. I'm going to catch my stride and you're going to lose your pride. Poor Gigi." Oh, it's on, Teeny Clark. Bet. Shock. When we get to the front door, Teeny's mama comes running up behind us and pulling her by the arm while her daddy shoots us. So you all better get before I get you, look. So we do, flying out the door back under the night rain to get our bikes and go home, but mine isn't there. Tragedy. The last new episode of Rudy's favorite show, The Lone Ranger, aired on the radio, and he cried. He had to hide under desks with books over our heads because the principal said the Russians had a hydrogen bomb. 80 million locusts swarmed the desert in French Algeria. An earthquake struck Southern California. Hurricane Hazel hit Northern Carolina, and the University of Kentucky wouldn't let Cobb's older brother Arthur, the best running back in the state of Kentucky, play for their school because of the color of his skin. There's been natural disasters and wars and all kinds of human failings and tragedies, but right now none of it feels lousier than my Royal red and white Schwinn Cruiser Deluxe with chrome rims not being where I left it. The $60 bike my daddy bought me isn't there. It's gone. Like the Lone Ranger, and somebody stole it. Like he said, he saw a security guard, so after I ran around in the rain crying and hunting for the thief, we went back inside Columbia to report the crime, but the guard was too busy eating peanut brittle and flirting with every lady that walked by to care about my misfortune. So we just asked him if there was a real cop anywhere, and that's when he pointed downstairs. Downstairs was a basement with a gym that smelled like the boys' locker room with no ventilation, like a hot, musty day after rain, like cut grass in August, like the sweat of a dozen boys after hours doing pull-ups, skipping rope, and hammering away with heavy bags and each other. Columbia Boxing Gym. The plastered floor was coming apart. The fluorescent lights barely hung from the ceiling. The grimy white brick walls were covered in Lewis and Dempsey posters and large red signs with gym rules, training checklists, tomorrow's champion announcements, and corny but uplifting quotes printed on them. Winners are not those who never fail. They are those who never quit. The place was loud. Old men coaching kids. Some I knew, some I didn't, some white, most blacks. Guys lacing gloves and talking trash about what they were going to do to each other in the ring. And thing was, it felt good. Real good to be in there. In the middle of the gym was a square ring with the ropes that I'd only seen on TV and two muscly teenagers I knew from school throwing wild punches at each other's heads and missing. On the punching bag was a tall fellow with a lightning-fast blast of a blow that looked like that he could tear a man's head straight off his neck, egging him on, occasionally looking around the gym, and all the goings on was an old white guy with 2 ball pens in his pocket, hair only on his sides of his head, and cuffed black pants so baggy he could barely see his clothes. When he saw me, he walked my way. Conversation with an old white guy. You lost, kid? No, sir, but my bike is. How'd you lose your bike? Somebody stole it, and I aim to find out who. Simmer down now. When I find him, I'm going to whoop him good, too. Not a good idea to tell a policeman you're going to commit assault. You the cop? 25 years. Can I file a report or something? You see the culprit? Any witnesses? No, sir, but I think I know who did it. Come down to the station on Monday. Can't you just help me out now? A little busy down here. You a boxer too? Do I look like a fighter, kid? That don't mean anything. Look at these clumsy fellas in the ring. Palucas, the both of them. They got will but no skill, and they don't listen. You their coach? I'm coach and uncle, teacher, counselor. I'm breaking muscles. They're chasing dreams. Oh. Most of these boys never gonna box for real, but at least they get to knock out their anger in the ring instead of getting in trouble on the streets. Where's your badge? You undercover? Enough with questions. I gotta get back to work. This is a cool place. You know how to fight? Never been beat up. That's not what I asked you. You a southpaw? How's your jab? Show me an uppercut. If you want to learn, come down here after school one day. My mama won't allow it. Seems to me as if you want to whip somebody, you should learn how to fight first. You know where I'll be. But what about my bike? You can kiss that bike goodbye, kid. But we'll file that report on Monday. Thanks. Hey, what's your name? The name on the sign says Joe Martin's Gym. And this is my gym, so you can call me Joe Martin. Well, good to meet you, Joe Martin. I'm Cassius Clay. Mama, please. Let me go down to the gym and box, I begged. I promise I'll do better in school, even in French class. Plus, I'll bring Rudy and teach him and make sure he doesn't get hurt. And the old man said that he would help me find my bike, too, and train me to protect myself. I've been born again, and maybe I can be great at something besides my looks. After Mama Bird finished laughing, she agreed. Then told me Cash was going to buy me a motor scooter and that I better not let that get stolen, too. I hooped and I hollered, "Mercy," I said, and then hugged her, "Merci," I said, and hugged her, and then ran to let Ronnie and Lucky know the big news. Cassius Clay is going to be a fighter. And that's round 5.